By 1947, the battered British Empire, financially exhausted after World War II ended in 1945, faced an urgent, irreversible choice in the Indian subcontinent. Whitehall's gilded corridors could no longer hide shortages of men, money, and political will, and Britain was looking for a quick exit. Two competing visions filled the vacuum. The Indian National Congress, led by Jawaharlal Nehru, demanded a secular, unified state. The All India Muslim League, led by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, insisted on a separate Muslim homeland. Earlier constitutional efforts, the 1935 Government of India Act and the Cabinet Mission of 1946, failed to reconcile those ambitions. The 1946 provincial elections delivered decisive wins for the Muslim League in Muslim-majority provinces, hardening the demand for Pakistan into a political imperative. Communal tensions, especially in the divided provinces of Punjab and Bengal, were already simmering and often boiling over. The calamitous Direct Action Day in Calcutta on 16 August 1946 presaged sectarian fury, and local clashes spread across towns and villages. Into this crucible stepped Lord Louis Mountbatten, appointed Viceroy on 22 March 1947, a flamboyant naval officer charged with overseeing a transfer of power. Millions of Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs living in mixed cities such as Lahore, Amritsar, Calcutta, and Dhaka confronted an uncertain future with their homes, livelihoods, and families at stake. The stage was set for a fast-moving, combustible unraveling of imperial rule and communal order, and every decision would reshape generations. On June 3, 1947, Lord Louis Mountbatten stunned Whitehall and New Delhi by announcing an accelerated timetable for British withdrawal. He proposed that sovereignty be transferred by August 15, 1947, and presented partition as the stark, binary remedy to an intractable communal impasse. Mountbatten's gambit, backed by Prime Minister Clement Attlee's Labour government, forced leaders to choose a fast exit over drawn-out negotiations. It was a gilded, brutal expedient meant to avert imperial paralysis, but it guaranteed hurried decisions with historic consequences. Muhammad Ali Jinnah intensified his demand for a sovereign Pakistan, arguing that Muslims in Punjab, Bengal, and the Northwest could not safely remain under a Hindu majority center. Jawaharlal Nehru and the Congress leadership resisted partition as a rupture of the secular, unified India they envisioned. Heated meetings in June and July saw bitter bargaining as each side weighed principle against the specter of nationwide collapse. To put the break into practice, Mountbatten appointed Sir Cyril Radcliffe to chair boundary commissions for Punjab and Bengal, giving him roughly 5 weeks and a stack of imperfect census returns and revenue maps to draw borders across intertwined districts and crowded cities. Subscribe. Maybe it would have bought him more time. At the same time, London introduced the Indian Independence Bill in Parliament. It became the Indian Independence Act, receiving royal assent on July 18, 1947, and legally creating two dominions. The timing meant Pakistan marked independence on August 14th and India on August 15, 1947. Administrative machinery, dividing the British Indian Army, separating the civil services, resolving the fate of more than 560 princely states, and apportioning railways, treasury balances, and public records, had to be set in motion under brutal time constraints. Political acquiescence by Nehru, Jinnah, and others to this timetable was intended to avert greater bloodshed, but those hurried legal and administrative moves effectively committed the subcontinent to a breakup whose rushed map-making and deadlines would soon become the spark to smoldering communal tinder, propelling events into an unstoppable roar. In July 1947, Mountbatten turned a fraught political crisis into a technocratic emergency by entrusting Sir Cyril Radcliffe with two boundary commissions for Punjab and Bengal. He asked a London barrister who had never been to India to draw new Dominion borders in roughly 5 weeks, during July and August 1947. Radcliffe arrived with census returns, revenue maps, and briefcases of legal instruction, but almost no local knowledge. He worked from district and tehsil returns, railway timetables, and irrigation plans, and he consulted officials in Lahore, Calcutta, and New Delhi while operating under absolute secrecy. The Commission's decisions reduced intimate human geographies, mixed villages, joint households, market streets, and shared wells to lines on a map. A single stroke could decide who kept a house, who lost a livelihood, who became a minority overnight. In Punjab, the Commission sliced through Lahore, Amritsar, Firozapur, Sialkot, and the volatile textiles of Gurdaspur and Rawalpindi. The award of most of Gurdaspur to India proved incendiary because it affected access to Jammu and Kashmir. In Bengal, the Radcliffe map cleaved Calcutta from Khulna and divided Jessore, Murshidabad, and Barisal in ways that left large Muslim minorities west of the new line and Hindu minorities east of it. Maps were completed in mid-August, but published only on 17 August 1947, and that provisional status immediately turned into existential arithmetic for ordinary people. News of where a village or railway junction now lay spread by rumor and telegraph faster than any official order, and local committees and armed bands moved to secure homes and shops. Within days and weeks, expulsions and reprisals began. Landlords fled with papers, families abandoned fields, and trains carrying uprooted refugees were attacked along the Grand Trunk Road and the main east-west lines. Columns of refugees, caravans of carts, and packed third-class compartments streamed toward the newly defined borders. In towns where minorities found themselves stranded, Lahore, Amritsar, Calcutta, Jessore, tentative coexistence collapsed into organized flight and sporadic slaughter. Technical decisions in a cramped office in London and hurried sessions in secret rooms in New Delhi had become a timetable for displacement, and the fragile order of Act 1 moved inexorably toward the human torrent that would define Act 3. When the Radcliffe lines leaked and the maps were published in mid-August 1947, law and civic order buckled into a sepia-toned panic across Punjab and Bengal. In Lahore and Amritsar, mobs hunted neighbors with butcher knives and petrol. In Calcutta and Khulna, markets and lanes that had shared festivals for generations erupted into ash and blood. Organized expulsions replaced sporadic clashes. Village committees and armed bands set up roadblocks on the Grand Trunk Road and the East-West Railway, stopping carts and third-class compartments, separating men from women, and forcing entire households into refugee columns. Trains became rolling tombs. Carriages, piled with corpses and survivors with smashed windows, were reported on routes from Rawalpindi to Julandur and from Jessore toward Calcutta in August and September 1947. Local militias, volunteers aligned with the Muslim League, the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, Sikh Jathas, and ad hoc armed bands exploited the collapse of policing as provincial administrations faltered and police units deserted or joined partisan groups. Civil authority in district headquarters dissolved. Magistrates fled, police stations were overrun, and senior administrators in Lahore, Amritsar, Dhaka, and Calcutta issued frantic appeals for troops that reached Mountbatten in New Delhi and Clement Attlee in London. Mountbatten, bruised and bewildered, diverted British Indian Army units and called for reinforcements to escort convoys and guard refugee camps, but manpower and command lines were strained by the simultaneous division of the armed forces. Jawaharlal Nehru's 15th August broadcast and Muhammad Ali Jinnah's 14th August pledge to protect minorities echoed on radio, but could not staunch roadside massacres or stop refugee columns that swelled into millions. Relief agencies, the Indian Red Cross Society, ad hoc civic committees, the British military and missionary groups scrambled to establish depots in Amritsar, Firozapur, Calcutta, and Delhi, erecting tent camps and temporary morgues. By late August, the humanitarian arithmetic was brutal. Roughly 10 to 15 million uprooted, trainloads of the dead, and suffering that the nascent governments and international helpers could barely comprehend. The crisis had reached a fevered pitch that hurtled the subcontinent toward an inevitable, terrible climax. On August 14, 1947, Pakistan was formally born in Karachi as leaders raised a new green flag bearing a white crescent and star, and Muhammad Ali Jinnah took office as Governor-General amid guarded jubilation. British officials, including Lord Louis Mountbatten, attended the ceremony even as refugee columns thundered through the Punjab countryside. Less than 24 hours later, at the stroke of midnight between August 14th and 15th in New Delhi, Jawaharlal Nehru addressed the Constituent Assembly with his Tryst with Destiny speech, declaring India's birth and unfurling the tricolour of saffron, white and green with the navy blue Ashoka Chakra. Those sovereign moments were scripted, photographed, and broadcast worldwide, yet their trumpet calls echoed over regions in flames. Goods and passenger trains from Rawalpindi to Amritsar and from Jessore toward Calcutta were ambushed. Road convoys were stopped. Men were separated from women, and mass abductions and killings surged. Cities and districts such as Lahore, Amritsar, Gurdaspur, Calcutta, and Khulna witnessed communal fury at its fiercest, and relief camps and makeshift morgues in Amritsar, Firozapur, Delhi, and Calcutta filled within days. Governments on both sides issued solemn assurances to protect minorities, and the British Indian Army along with local police were deployed to guard convoys, but order could not be restored quickly. Estimates of deaths in the months that followed range from several 100,000 to as many as 2 million, and roughly 10 to 15 million people were displaced. The simultaneous birth of two dominions therefore stands as a stark paradox. Ceremonial statehood and raised flags were achieved even as ordinary lives were extinguished or uprooted, a moral and political cost that would shape policy, memory, and generations to come. Partition's immediate consequences were catastrophic. Perhaps 500,000 to 2 million dead and 10 to 15 million displaced in 1947 to 1948 as refugees poured out of Punjab and Bengal into makeshift camps. Sir Cyril Radcliffe's boundary map and the Indian Independence Act, Royal Assent, July 18, 1947, produced Pakistan on August 14, 1947, and India on August 15, 1947, severing markets and family ties. Rushed borders and communal violence sparked the First Indo-Pak War over Jammu and Kashmir after Maharaja Hari Singh acceded to India on October 26, 1947. Fighting in 1947 to 1948 ended with a UN-mediated ceasefire in January 1949 and the establishment of a de facto line of control. Later wars in 1965, 1971, and 1999, together with sustained hostility, militarized relations, and shaped national priorities for decades. Partition forged rival national identities and created global diasporas carrying trauma and memory abroad. Historiography is still contested, and public memory clings to images of trains, ruined bazaars, and lists of the missing. Two states were born alongside vast loss. Can legal lines ever reconcile the intimate histories they severed?